David King, joined by Richard Lovrich, and today our guest is Tony Iadicicco from Albany Center Gallery. It hasn't been long since we've talked to you or since we've written about some of the stuff that's been going on there, but you've got a really busy schedule, and it seems like you've really turned up the volume in some ways on what you guys are producing. So cheers on the coffee, early morning coffees, and not that early, but
cheers
still. So I think the last major thing we wrote was about Arzu and her mural in particular down at Capitol Walls, and I think a lot more people know about what's going on down there, not just obviously because of our article, but because it's out there getting a lot of larger coverage and praise. It's only been, I don't know, maybe 2 months since that article came out, and there are a lot of new murals up. Yeah. So tell us about sort of how that process works.
The summertime we had a lot of activity taking place with the murals. We usually program them out about 8 months to a year out in advance. So in our mind, we knew these things were coming, and then it's just working with the artists to let them create their magic. With Arzu's mural, after that, we actually did 3 more pieces actually, which was a really cool tie-in to let people know that there was going to be a lot of activity going on. But I think more people are starting to see it. They're venturing out into the area to actually go look at the work. And then while they're there, they're actually checking out a lot of other things that are happening in downtown with the public art that we work on, along with our partners. So it is, I think, just an amazing time. And now it's getting cold, so I think people are going to want to start staying warm. But it is, these are 24/7. We want people to have access to art whenever they're out.
And you have a solution for folks who do want to stay inside but appreciate art, because two weeks from now, your Art Deco Gala. What should people expect? Why should people come out?
So for the Art Deco Gala, every year we've been working on different themes. We've gone from Pop Gala, we've done a surreal, we've done a Future 41, to where it was like the future of the arts. People kind of get out in outfits, creative attire, not necessarily like costumes. And for this year, I think it's no different. We're just trying to create an energized space that people want to go out to and create an experience, because we are selling tickets, and usually with that, it's everyone sells a ticket. So what makes your event a little bit different? So really it's about the music, the people, the dancing, the food, the drinking, and just supporting the arts. So for us, that's what we keep trying to do, and do it at a high level. And the people that are in the room, they enjoy it, and then they tell their friends. So every year we've actually been increasing the attendance, and this year we're actually probably going to have to cap out at 250.
Oh, wow.
So for us, that's awesome when we don't want to sell more than 250 because we want the experience to be what it is.
And the location this year?
This year it's located at the Renaissance Albany, in downtown Albany. So we usually have had it in different locations throughout the city of Albany. But we're happy to go back there again, and they're always very kind to us. And the space is beautiful, so you can't beat that.
I hate to jump backwards, but thinking of Capitol Walls for a second. By the way, the second best idea for 787 after tearing it down.
Someone brought that up to me yesterday. It's just so wonderful that all these murals are up there, but then suddenly, after years of this idea being put forward, people are actually talking about tearing down 787 as something real.
What a wonderful way for it to go. But I know, as I told you before the broadcast, I've been speaking to students from a pretty insular, university environment that knew the project and had seen it. And I can't say the same for any other exhibition recently. So it is working, and it is a way for the public to see the work. And I haven't met a single person who hasn't enjoyed the interface. Wow, it's just turning into a compliment fest. That's not where I was headed. But I guess where I am headed is, it's the walls, it's the doors, working with students. I like to think that, we have Proctor's, and wow, Proctor's is everywhere. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, Albany Center Gallery is everywhere under your reign. And again, that's a compliment, but I'd like to speak to that for a second.
Yeah.
You have taken the concept even of a smallish gallery in a capital city that's not the most important city in its state. So there's all this shyness and weirdness that goes with that. And you've turned it into, when I judge, when I help judge at the barn for folks to become new tenants, the last question I like to ask outside of the standard questions is, how would you turn the barn inside out, right? You know what it does? You know all the cool things that happen in here? How would you turn that inside out and affect the neighborhood around it? And you are achieving that on a daily basis. So can we talk a little bit about long-term goals or even the seed, like what made you think to leave your four walls in the first place?
Yeah, and thank you. The compliments are always nice because that means the artists are doing something that's powerful. But there's also, people that have other ideas of what things can be. So for me, it's trying to process a lot of the information and then making the best decision for whatever it is, the public art pieces, the community, because without the community, we don't really exist. When we started doing the murals, it wasn't, I guess the large picture was to create art and let artists do something exciting. But I think now it's taking on kind of a life of its own to where the artists should be the ones running these programs because they're having the conversations, the stories, the journeys, and letting the artists do what they do, which is create. A lot of the city supports what we're doing, which is great. And a lot of people are using social media as a way to get out. So I think that's a good way that high school students, college kids are learning about what we're doing because a lot of their friends are going there. They're doing photo shoots, music videos. So now it's just activating space that people would normally just walk by. But I guess the vision for it, and even going outside of the gallery walls, I started in 2011 when the gallery brought me on. When I was in an interview, they said, "What would you do?" I said, "We should move." The space that we're in. To me, the first thing was we should move. We should go to a space that's a little bit more local or central, with a better visible.
So when was the move, just for our viewers?
We moved in 2017. We left our space, and then in 2018, January, we opened up at our new location at 488 Broadway.
It wasn't very many blocks.
Yeah, it's a couple blocks,
and
it makes
wasn't
a huge
even
difference.
a huge difference in space, but it was a big difference, wasn't it?
I think we got to design the gallery space to be a gallery, but with that, we have cool metal railings, nice floors, good walls, cool ceilings. All of it visually looks nice.
Right.
But some people are still afraid.
Your last space was beautiful as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you made the best of it each time in very creative ways. But
so I think that's what artists do. You creative problem solve. You try to figure out what you can do with what you have. Right. And now the space that we have, we love it. But now we still need to go out into the community. So that's where a lot of the effort comes. It's getting outside of the gallery.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the article and the conversations I had with you around the Arzu feature was that, Kristen Holler from the Barn sort of alluded to this too, that there's a thought about bringing us to other cities and getting out of the space. And I don't know where that stands or if you're still pushing for it, but I've also heard from a lot of people who really enjoy what they're seeing down, in downtown Albany and saying, can we bring this into a community? Can we get this into a space where there are more eyes naturally? And obviously there are more, there's more red tape with that, but is that something you've heard and something you're considering? Yeah,
so the Capitol Walls, for us, we started in the city of Albany with really the parking authority leading the way. They're funding a lot of these programs and murals that we're doing. So for us, that's kind of how it started. It worked with the Barn in the gallery. They were, I guess, looking for someone to help kind of curate the process. So I guess not by default, but by effort and really trying to share a vision. They brought me on as curation for doing the murals. So our goal is to expand the curation of it, but also go into the cities and communities around us. And just recently, over the summertime, we did Corner Canvas, which was a project where we went to Henry Johnson and Clinton, working with Fourth Family, the Land Bank, to where we take buildings that are boarded up and work with kids in the community to create artwork. So we worked with Eugene O'Neill, another artist local, to work with the kids. He has a company called Made in Truth. So it's we're trying to connect people together so they have their own professions and they do what they do. But if we bring all of them together, these cool programs happen. So for us, it's really the collaboration that makes it possible because we're a staff of 3 and we're obviously trying to grow. But with us, we can't do anything without the partners or the artists that do it because they're the ones that are doing the work. We just kind of help oversee the structure of it and always push for being authentic, being real, because I think that's what's going to help set it apart from other things. If it's too gimmicky or kind of cheesy, people aren't going to respect it. So for us, that's our quality, is trying to make sure that it's the artist's voice, because I think there's, with thousands of artists in this area. To me, there should be hundreds and maybe thousands of murals, because those are all opportunities for people to say something. It shouldn't just be limited to one city or one neighborhood, or just limited because of funding. There should be access for art for everyone. Right. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, obviously you'd like more partners.
Yeah.
It seems like, I was having a conversation with Paul Grondel yesterday from the Writers Institute, and it stems from another conversation I was having with Albany PR, Albany College. Yeah, what's that called? Oh, Albany. I graduated from there. Jordan Carlo Evangelist, who is a PR person there, but was this great reporter for the Times Union for quite a while, and I ran into him at a soccer game, kids soccer game, and I was saying to him, wow, I'm very impressed with what the Writers Institute is doing and how they've managed to get these writers who speak to not only people who are in the literary field or the very specific whatever, but they're bringing it into the community. They're partnering with the library. Right. They're bringing writers to jails to talk to inmates. I mean, things that really spread the message and I mean, almost get every drop out of this writer that's visiting that you possibly could. Yeah. And the writers are really into it. But, he was saying that, like, look, yes, we're part of this monolithic institution, et cetera, but none of this will be possible without partnerships, and we're seeing so many more of them grow now. Yeah. So it feels like there's that environment, and he also apologized for using the word collaborate, given that it's the name of our silly magazine. But it seems like you guys are really looking for more of that, and it could make things more possible.
I think, to me, that's the key part of it, because then you're really working with the community and the people that it's affecting and that are living with the projects. So for us, it's businesses. Albany Distilling, for example, we're working on a winter art fest. Again, it's two different entities, but then coming together, doing something, and then bringing artists together to do live art and performances. So that's like one example of things that we work on. Trying to get into summer youth employment, to where, say, for example, in the summertime, we work with the city and we work with kids. They get paid to do public art. Right. Then you compensate artists for teaching these lessons. So it's just, to me, there's always creative ways to link things together, and then I don't know how, it just always happens. I guess it might just be the mindset or the fact that we just constantly work towards it, but it's with intention that we do what we do. So it's collaboration. I love it.
If I was a different type of interviewer, I might be asking at this point, like, you're doing all this and all that, and there's only 3 of you, so what else can you really do? But I'd rather, since we have a viewing audience, say, how can someone help? Yeah. Like, who would be help? Looking at 2 years, 4 years, because it does sound like, let's get to basics here. Many people have wanted to do murals in cities around here, and it just never happened. Whether they were the wrong person at the wrong time or didn't speak with the correct voice, we just know it didn't happen. And now that it is happening and there's an energy behind it, and it's very similar to the Proctor's model, isn't it? Right? Yeah. Where we didn't invent Capitol Repertory Theater and the wonders of it, and it still has the same programming and in fact the same artistic director, and it's still the same fabulous place, but it has this Proctor's management team and other bits behind it and ticketing. And you're becoming that for independent art projects, but how, and we know from this conversation, anyone watching now knows what you're capable of. What do you need from the community, from local businesses, from new board members, let's say, what do you need to make this go further?
I think just truthfully, people appreciating it, supporting it, wanting to hire artists to do work. It's not even just visual art, it's just arts in general. Pay people to do it, because that's going to help continue to allow them to make art and be part of this creative economy. So for us, it's really, it goes down to businesses supporting, paying for projects that take place.
Well, how did that work? Let's say with the Door project, right? That was
an awesome one.
It's an awesome concept because you have the, you're talking about an event and here's the owner of the building. Yeah. And he's not just donated a couple bucks, he's playing a significant role in modifying the appearance of his buildings in order to bring art to the people. How did that start? Did
So
you
that one-
approach that person? Did that person approach you?
That one started actually with the Fair Games grant. So that was an application that the downtown bid and the gallery partnered on. And for us, a lot of it is if we just keep working, we're going to attract the people that want to also do those right things. And then when the conversation started, it was, we don't have a lot of time to write grants. Can we get support on the grant writing? So the downtown bid helped facilitate the grant with us, and we co-wrote the grant. We submitted it. We said we need to pay artists to do the work that they're going to be doing. And the gallery gets compensated as well because we do the management of it. So really it's creating the win-win-win where it's good for the city of Albany, it's good for the artist, it's good for the gallery.
Right.
Those are the projects where if they're not win-win-win, then we just say we don't have the time for it because
Right.
it really, if somebody loses, it's not really going to help make it possible. So I think a lot of it is making sure that the people that are there are doing the right thing and then involving artists that, it might be their first opportunity doing a public art piece, but it's giving the trust and giving the responsibility and saying like, don't just put art in the street just because you're bored. What's the reason that you want to put the art in the street? How's the community going to respond to it? And then artists start to question what it is that they're doing and what they're saying. So I think it puts responsibility on them to look deeper and not just say, oh, I just want to do it because it seems like a thing to do.
Right.
You could put artwork in galleries, but I think now it's people want to go out into the community because that's where humans live. That's where life takes place.
That's right.
So the open door gallery, that was inspired from other location in Kentucky. So again, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
We're just pulling from inspiration of seeing what's successful. But how do we fuse that into what we're doing? If people travel, they see things, they experience food, wine, culture, whatever it is, they want to bring that back to their location and then try to bring that to the world. So I think a lot of it is, there's been other mural projects and other outdoor activities, and we inspire from those too. We learn from every thing that's been going on for the past 25 years of just in the city of Albany, because there were murals, are still currently murals by Jacqueline Berkman that started doing murals. Next year will be the 25th year anniversary of the Rensselaer murals that she worked on.
Yes.
So those are things that like we acknowledge, and it's inspiring from that. And it's like, cool, let's do that and let's do even more of it. So trying to find ways to partner and really just bring the creative ideas together because there's endless amounts of opportunities because every place can be a space for inspiration. So
It's very funny that you mentioned those because every time I pass them, I think, I remember that. It's like, who remembers a bridge support? It's such an absurd concept.
Yeah.
But it really, it marks the neighborhood in a very significant way.
Yeah. And I think spaces like that, and in recent years past, Samson is also an artist that curated projects.
Yeah.
Again, bringing artists into the community, sharing a voice, sharing a vision. Those are people and places that if everyone works together, these are cool things that we're going to actually be able to accomplish. Same with Schenectady, Troy, Saratoga. Really, it's our whole region. But every space having a voice, because not everything is going to be the same exact voice. Every person has an experience, so letting the artists and the creative people share that experience. I think that's what's going to be the key for it.
So looking ahead, you mentioned food and wine, and
Yes.
so you're also involved in
That's another cool one, yeah.
Yeah, the Albany Wine and Dine Fest for the Arts. And I keep hearing, obviously there's been more announced, but I keep hearing about the cool things you have planned and how excited everyone is to see sort of how this works live. But are you still in the planning stages? Or are you still working out the kinks?
Yeah.
And tell us
both.
What?
We're planning. We'll be working out kinks probably until we're doing it
Yeah.
because, based on space, location. But it is cool. The gallery has been a beneficiary for many years of the Wine and Dine for the Arts. And for people that don't know, it's chefs and culinary and drinking and dancing and community coming together to raise money for local arts organizations in Albany. So we're this year fortunate to be one of their top beneficiaries. They have top tier and second tier. And really everyone goes together and raises money and then they distribute the funds. For our vision this year was to add more art and excitement to it. Not that it hasn't been that way, because there's been a lot of dance and there's a lot of culture brought into it. But we want to, this year we're going to work on dancers performing with Maud Baum. And these performers, for example, will eventually create artwork by having paint on their feet and then moving around this dance floor that we're going to create that will create a work of art. So now you can visually see them dancing and using their body to express, but then visually they'll leave footprints of this piece. So we're planning details like that. Fire throwers, blacksmith, glass blowers, like to try to create an experience to where if people don't go to an art space and they're going just to support and they love food and they love wine, that's cool. But just by them doing that, they're actually supporting probably 8 to maybe 15 arts organizations by going out and doing kind of something that they enjoy. So it's not forcing them to say you have to experience this, but if we bring it to them, they might actually be turned on and say this is something I could get into, and then they learn more. And again, artists are getting compensated to do the work, which is awesome because it helps them put in their energy into it, and it's not an afterthought. It's part of the planning, and I think that's another cool element is having creative people at the table when it starts, so that way you can actually start to envision what it could be. And I think this year will be pretty exciting.
One of the things I've run by you in the past week is we're working on an entire issue, looking back on the year and examining some of the major sort of events or works that made people think about the arts and locally in a different fashion, or set the stage for something for larger change. And I mean, I do think that the sort of critical mass of the murals counts as that. I mean, it counts as something that's really created buzz and changed the way people think about things. But I wanted to get your thoughts on, and I know you're involved in lots of stuff, and obviously you have lots of friends who are involved in a lot of big projects. Is there something that stands out to you? Have you been involved in anything that you... I mean, don't slight anyone, don't forget anyone, but...
Yeah, I probably will. I mean, to me, there's always something exciting to go on and see. And I constantly just say if people are lazy or bored and they have nothing to do, I think it's their fault because there's so much creativity happening. If I acknowledge some, then I have to acknowledge all of them, and I don't know if that's possible.
All right, well, let me put you on the spot then. Both of you are actually involved in this some way, but the Stitched show at the Times Square Center, that was, I mean, I've heard from folks who essentially it made them think about what's possible in the capital region in a different way. I know Jade Harrison Warwick, who does cartoons for us, was extremely inspired. A few people walked away from it just sort of with the paradigm changed. And I know that it wasn't an easy thing to pull off, and it's, So what are your thoughts on, do you see that as something that has actually changed the way people think about fashion locally?
And two things. So we actually met Jade at Ignite, which is a volunteer festival we'll talk about. She then got a ticket to our gala, which is coming up. Last year was the first time she actually came to the gala events. And then from there, we've actually worked with her on a few movable murals, and she does obviously stuff with you. So it's just that energy of Jade and artists like Jade. They try, and then it just happens, So I think that ties into artists putting in the effort and then kind of getting those things in return because they just work hard and hustle.
I mean,
so I just wanted to.
It goes back to a lot of. It makes me think of Patrick Harris and Jamel and the idea of show up and do something.
Yeah, that's
and you get pulled
exactly
into an orbit. But
I think when Stitched happened this year, again, it shows what things can be. It brings it to another level. And you're working with hair designers, hair and makeup artists, lighting people. You're working with stage coaches, designers. All of these are creative things. So even when we go and talk to students, 8th grade through high school, even in college, we say these are creative fields that you can actually get into. And then they start to see things in a different light where it's, I don't have to just be this. I can do any of these things.
It's far more nuanced, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think that it really does inspire people locally because now they say, well, this is actually being acknowledged and it's okay. So it's kind of like a hug saying like, it's okay, we support you, go and do this. And then it's just people getting involved and doing it. I think Mike Schinner and his group of people, they really do tap into creativity to where it's making sure that it's quality. And I think that's the most important thing because people recognize authentic and it's, real. You recognize what realness is. So I think that, again, looking for support in the community to help make that happen. But we have amazing people here. We have people here that live locally that actually travel the world doing this.
Yeah.
So it's highlighting the talent that's here and not saying you have to go elsewhere to find it or achieve it. We have these people that are here that also do that and they're doing it locally. So to me, it's just keep supporting it, whatever means, finding ways to partner, collaborate, do something so that way these things can happen because I know when I started off doing a lot of art shows in the city of Schenectady, like in 2008 and 2009, Richard, Philip, Jim Slingo from DSIC, they actually helped support me do public pop-up shows in different spaces, which was awesome. But it's by showing up and getting a little bit of support and then all of a sudden more support, it helps people do more things. So I'm always a true believer, and I think also you and Proctors and DSIC for years ago even giving me a try to do something, because I probably still am just a weird random person, but I want to do art. I want to have it be possible for the community to experience it. So those are things that I don't discredit anybody. You just got to give them a little bit of trust and faith and let it happen. So it's pretty awesome. Thanks.
So I was through the gallery Wednesday, and I did get a look at some of the movable murals that are some still in progress, but they will be at Ignite U at this festival.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how you're involved in that.
So Ignite, that's been going on for 5 years. It's a volunteer festival where about 40 nonprofits go together, and it's led by Serve Albany, which is an organization that's trying to have people in the community make the community better. So by having all these nonprofits come together, you're getting 300, 400, maybe 600 people to a space that are looking to give back in the community. So answering how do people give back, it's just go out and find something that speaks to you. If you love animals, if you love shelters, if you love helping people that need a little bit of extra help, all of the organizations there can provide it. And then you could say, I want to volunteer 5 hours or 2 hours, a week, a month, a year, whatever it is. So for us, it was like, how do we infuse art into that? Because most people don't think of art as something that can heal or be something that connects people. But that's, I think, part of why we're doing what we're doing is it's not just pretty artwork on walls. It can connect and unite people. So we worked with them. John from the church that is Serve Albany, he oversees the whole thing, working with the city. And they said, we want art again this year. And I said, can we pay artists to do something cool? And he's like, sure, we'll find a way. So they were able to get a sponsorship to cover the stipends for the artists. So to me, that's one win. Artists are making money. Then the artists were inspired by bringing people together in community. And those are kind of like the phrases we give to the artists. So we don't ever dictate what the work is going to be. We just say, these are words, and now inspire and then create something that's authentic to you. We'll end up having those on display on the first floor of the Capitol Center, where people can experience with them the pieces themselves. But really, it's letting artists see this as an opportunity to have your work larger, but in front of an audience of people, where it's not necessarily in your studio or in a gallery space. It's going to where people are. And again, that's not anything that's original. When Les, the founder of the gallery, he was doing that in the 70s. He was doing traveling art shows, going into the mall and setting up a gallery space in the middle of the mall. So it's really just pulling from past successes and seeing what people can do. But yeah, to me, it's just, there's always a way to find a way to like weave and stitch things together with visual art, performance art, and then just having people's voices shine through. So we do call for arts ongoing, so any artist can always submit. Same with the murals, where we have a platform where if we say you want to do a mural or a movable mural or any creativity, show us what you've done and show us what you want to do, and we'll try to match up how those things can connect. So it's just a big puzzle trying to piece it all together. So we have some artists that do work that speaks to one thing. Well, that might not be this opportunity, but maybe in 3 months that might be there. So we work with artists to find out what it is that they want to do, and then pull them into it and support and say just do your best. And people seem to enjoy it, so it's cool.
Well, since Richard's here and you're here, we did bring up the door project.
Yes.
Richard, can you tell us a little bit about your door?
My doors?
Yes.
Oh, my doors. I'm trying to remember, because, Tony does so many wonderful things, and I always think, oh, my God, that deadline was yesterday, and I should have probably shared something. And, I like Tony, I'm more interested. I'm probably telling other artists to do things that I know and forgetting to do it myself. But in this case, there were some compositions that I had that were originally... They're digital, which is different than the work that I think any of the work that people find that familiar that I do. And they were meant to be printed on aluminum originally, when that was an expensive thing. Now printing on aluminum is far more accessible, and I haven't done it yet. But I had been looking at the work recently and making some new pieces, and I thought it just went, because they seem, for me, they're portals. They start with actual objects that are photographs of objects. And I was discussing this with Sarah Tack yesterday. So if you look directly at something, we all have different impressions of what that cup is. But I think in these images, it's a little bit more of a peripheral view of it. And in your peripheral vision, you see less, but maybe you into it more. And that's what they're about. They're about seeing within a common object, a metal door or a streetscape. So, and they have very ironic, oddball names, but that just hit me at the time. And, but I'm glad to see the work up, and also I'm very glad to see it with the other work. Yeah. And it makes a wonderful tour. It's not just a great way to see, here's another unwrapping, right? It's not just a great way to see art that, first of all, you might just happen upon. I imagine many of the people who see 3 or 4 pieces see it before they go, because they go to the garage that way, from, let's say, the Times Union Center. They may not see any others, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the art, now it's a new way to see a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit of a quiet spot. Yeah. Because normally if you're going to the TU Center, you're not really walking very far, right?
Yep.
So if you pick up the very nicely designed, by the way, little guide, you're going to see part of Albany, including the oldest building in Albany, right? You're going to see things that you probably haven't seen, even though you've probably been around Albany for a long time. Yeah. So it's a great piece. It makes Albany into a gallery, meaning it's chilly out now. The idea of walking, seeing some work, and then going to a pub is a wonderful idea.
I was just thinking, I would stop by Stack's and get a warm cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Go to the gallery, get a guide, take a tour of the murals before they're buried in snow, and see the door project.
Well, they'll only probably be buried that much.
And then get and then stop by Old English or something and get a pint or whatever people who drink do. Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, well, we're in public now. I was going to ask Tony actually after the recording that we should plan a date or try to plan a date and contact the artists. We do a winter walk around.
Yeah.
Like with many of the artists, then invite the public to come with us as well.
That'd be great.
So I'd be very happy to work on that with you.
And to me,
we should use the magazine to do that.
Yeah, even having that idea, now I'm like, cool, let's get a sponsor. Let's pay artists to go there and talk about what they're doing.
That's the way to do it.
This year we did the bike tours where we were able to have artists go there, share their stories, and then community got to come out. We had people from Vermont that came to this mural tour that we did to see what was going on.
Nice.
So for us, like our 100-mile radius, people are actually traveling just now to go on a bike tour and then spending a day in the city of Albany. So it's cool. Also, the Nipper Dogs are still out, I think, for a couple more weeks. So while you're looking at, and again, all of those are local artists that are getting commissioned to do the work. Last year when they auctioned them off, a few went to the RCA in New York City, and there's thousands.
I wasn't aware of that. That's wonderful.
it was super cool, and I believe Georgette from the Bid said artists made $30,000 in commissions based off of the sales of those Nipper Dogs.
Wow.
So there's serious money that's going into this. One dog is going for $6,000, and people are putting these in their house, in their yard.
Fantastic.
And that's also the artist getting commissioned to do it. So they keep making and winning. Based on doing good stuff.
Where can people find a map of the doors and the dogs?
So for downtown Albany Bid, on their website, they have all of that because they're a co-partner and sponsor on those, which is cool. They're finding a way to bring creativity, but also bring people into the community. And Discover Albany, same thing. They're working to help bring more people to the city of Albany, but it's working with artists and creativity to kind of do this fun thing. Just recently they commissioned Kara Hanley for their cover magazine and their walkable map. And again, they could easily have gone online, screenshot a map and then said, this is our map, but they're taking the purpose and the intention to do something a little bit better. And I think people recognize it. And then that just kind of becomes the standard. And then if that's the standard, then it's even higher the next time. So it's making sure people value it because, with things being so quick, you take the time to design it right and you make it cool, people are going to acknowledge it and it'll be special.
Well, thank you so much for. I think we've given everyone.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I think we've given everyone a homework assignment to go out and take this trip, and if not, we can make it a little more official for folks.
That would be awesome.
Coming weeks.
Yeah, any access. I mean, just find ways or local places that have it on their website, but it's good to just go out and explore.
So thank you so much for coming on again, and check out Wine and Dine, Ignite You, the Art Deco Gala, as well as all the murals.
We have a member show December 6th, which is another opening, and there might be a really, really cool announcement at that event.
Oh wow.
You should all be there.
All right.
December 6th.
We'll be there. Thank you.
And like 150 artists, so even better.
That's a lot of artists.
Amazing.
That'd be cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.